everyone. Welcome to our Toolbox Tuesday today. We'll just wait a minute or two more just to see how many people will be joining today's session. Hey everyone, just a reminder, we're just waiting for some more people to join before we officially begin our presentation. Okay, I think we're ready to go ahead and start. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to SCAG's Toolbox Tuesday. Could we get the intro slides shared? Thanks so much. Great. So welcome again to SCAG's Toolbox Tuesday. Today's session focuses on transportation safety resources and features speakers from SCAG who worked on and developed transportation safety projects and tools. My name is Jasper Dwyer. I'm a junior planner in the Performance Assessment and Monitoring Unit at SCAG, and I'll be kicking off today's session before we begin our main presentations. While we preview the session, I encourage you to introduce yourself and say hi to each other in the chat. Thank you guys for starting that. Now for some meeting housekeeping. Today's session will be about an hour and a half. There will be opportunities for questions and answers at the end of the session. If you have a question during the presentation, we encourage you to type it into the chat and we will voice them at the end of the session. Today's meeting will be recorded and the presentations and session recording will be posted on the SCAG's website and sent to everyone who registered for the event. I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement now. We are currently on occupied and unceded land of Indigenous peoples who are and have been the traditional caretakers of the land in this region. I am calling in from Chumash and Tongva Gabrieleño land. If you haven't already, I encourage you to visit the resources shared in the chat to learn more about the land and Indigenous communities that are where you live. So we also encourage you all to check out our other informative sessions. You can access the previous Toolbox Tuesday sessions through the link in the chat. Okay, so we're going to start our poll now. So I'd like to give the audience a chance to provide more information on their background and work related to transportation safety tools and resources, which we'll do through a quick poll here on the screen. There are 4 poll questions, so I'll give everyone a minute to fill those out. Please make sure to scroll down through the poll to make sure you answer all 4 questions before pressing submit. And we'll give everyone a few minutes. Okay, about half of you guys have contributed to the poll, so thank you. We'll just keep seeing how many more responses we can get, though. Okay, we had pretty good turnout on this poll. I think we're safe to go ahead and end it. Sorry if you didn't get to put in an answer, but now we're sharing the results. So for the question, what best represents the type of organization you're representing today, it seems like 20% of people are from local governments. And let's just scroll down. 40% of people here are from private company, some more from regional, state, county governments, and some students and community members here as well. Let's go to the next question. Most people here are from the SCAG region, but we have some other people here from somewhere else in the US and also somewhere else in California. And now into our transportation planning platforms or tools questions. It seems like some people aren't aware of their agency using any related tools, but it seems like a good number of people use SCAG transportation planning platforms or tools. A good number of people use private data vendors and also state and local platforms or tools. And now to read the question, does the jurisdiction you work for or live in have a transportation safety action plan? It looks like most jurisdictions do have a transportation safety action plan of the audience here today. And a good number of people don't know that. But yeah, that's great. Great to know what our audience looks like. So we can stop sharing this poll now and move on. Okay, thanks for completing that poll. So now we have an exciting session lined up for you today. We'll begin with a presentation and demo from Mike Gaynor, our Senior Regional Planner, on the recently released Community Safety Modeling Tool. Following that, Jeannie Ma, our Assistant Regional Planner, will present on the newly published 2025 Transportation Safety Regional Existing Conditions Report. So just a reminder, if you have a question during the presentation, please type it into the chat box and we will voice them after the presentation during our Q&A panel section. So with that, we can now switch slides to begin our first presentation. Mike, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Toolbox Tuesday session. Again, my name is Mike Gaynor. I'm a Senior Regional Planner here at SCAG, and today I'll be introducing you to our new SoCal Community Safety Modeling Tool. Next slide, please. Okay, for this session, I'll start off by providing some background information on the project before introducing the SoCal Community Safety Modeling Tool. And then I'll provide a basic overview of the tool and present a brief demonstration to showcase its use before opening up for any questions you may have. Next slide, please. A little background. SCAG is the largest MPO in the nation and home to about 19 million people across 6 counties and 191 cities. And collectively, our region comprises the 15th most powerful economy on Earth. And our mission here at SCAG is to collaborate with the local agencies that comprise our region to coordinate regional multimodal transportation system planning and investment, which of course includes safety. As part of our comprehensive regional safety planning efforts, SCAG seeks to improve safety performance throughout our region, including focusing on our more vulnerable road users, such as bicyclists and pedestrians. Next slide, please. Okay, the SoCal Community Safety Model is one of two new tools recently developed by SCAG to support local jurisdictions in performance-based transportation safety planning. As an area-wide model, the SoCal Community Safety Model is able to forecast future crash frequency and severity of crashes over a user-defined area, such as a census tract, traffic analysis zone, or at a county or any user-defined geographic space. Some of the variables that are featured in the model represent the broader area for which the model is being applied, including land use patterns within a neighborhood or a community, socioeconomic data, transportation system infrastructure, to provide context to the input provided for the modeling. Some of the inputs of the model may be adjusted based on possible future land use decisions and proposed multimodal transportation system changes, and that's where the power of the scenario planning model come into play. Next slide, please. Some of the capabilities of the model include, well, for overall, the SoCal Community Safety Model is designed to estimate changes in safety performance based on the adopted SCAG RTP SCS, currently Connect SoCal 2024. And the model is also equipped to estimate safety performance changes based on proposed changes in land use and transportation network improvements. The users of the model can define scenario planning zone SPZs within a selected study area and make changes to planned future land use and kind of get an overview of how those changes might impact safety performance within the study area. And the model is intended to support implementation of a performance-based planning approach toward local and regional transportation safety planning throughout the SCAG region. Next slide, please. And among the potential use cases, the model is designed to be supportive of a proactive approach toward transportation safety planning at the, as the name implies, community level. And among the potential uses for the tool include the full and meaningful incorporation of traffic safety analysis into the local and regional scenario planning process. The tool can be used to support engagement with county transportation commissions and other regional safety partners and stakeholders. And of course, the primary objective of the tool is to support the conduct of scenario planning to assess the safety impact of a proposed new development or land use change for a community. Next slide, please. The model offers an easy-to-use web-based tool to facilitate safety performance modeling of local planning scenarios, and it is equipped to generate maps and charts to illustrate differences in expected safety performance based on user-defined inputs. It may be effectively used to compare existing safety conditions with projected future performance over a selected study area to identify the relationship of local transportation safety investments relative to desired safety performance outcomes. Next slide, please. So at this time, I'll provide a brief demo of the SoCal community safety model. And since our time is limited, I'll go over a basic hypothetical scenario assessment of a suburban location adjacent to a Metrolink train station. This isn't an actual uh, proposed uh, project. It's just a demonstration of what this tool could, what utility the tool can provide in local transportation and land use planning activities. So I'll go ahead and share my screen to get the tool up. Okay. All right, this is the user interface for the SoCal community safety model. And I'm not sure, Jasper or Jeannie, perhaps you could provide the link in the chat if you have it available. I'm going to, for this demonstration, I'm going to create a new scenario. You have the option to either create a new scenario or build upon a scenario that you had developed previously. But for the purpose of this demo, I'll create a completely new scenario, and I'll call it, since it's in the city of Covina, I'll call it COV 50 because it will be looking at the year 2050. And let's move this out of the way. And then we go click on that scenario planning. And at this point, we will select the site that we want to evaluate. And in this case, I want to zoom in to the city of Covina. And once you have an existing scenario, this map will automatically go directly to that location. And to clarify the map, I'll click off the scenario planning zone layer. So we're just looking at the TAZs. And we'll zoom over to the area of interest. In this case, I wanted to look at the area adjacent to the Covina Metrolink station in downtown Covina, and in this region here. Okay. And to select your study area, you would click on this draw polygon icon here under site selection. And I'm particularly interested in this neighborhood just to the northwest of the Metrolink station. It's currently single family residential. And I will select this box here and then click enter. And it'll select all of the TAZs that are within that intersect with my selected area. And then I will click the forward box for the next step. And at this point, we will want to select the scenario planning zone of interest. And for this demonstration, I'm particularly interested in this area to the west of Citrus Avenue, but north of the train station itself. And that is scenario planning zone 070. And for future place type, currently, I should mention that this particular TAZ is within the place type referred to as neighborhood low, which features a mix of single-family homes on small lots interspersed with some medium and larger lot homes, but overwhelmingly, it is small lot single-family housing with 4 households per acre and a current base year population. And in the case for this model, the base year is currently configured at 2020. We had a population of 385 with an employment population of 20. And what I would like to do is to assess how this neighborhood would perform relative to safety if we changed the place type from neighborhood low to neighborhood residential. And the difference between neighborhood low and neighborhood residential, and I'll just adjust this to 50 just to make it comparable with the neighborhood low place type that we used previously. The difference is primarily that under neighborhood residential, again, we have mostly single family homes on small lots interspersed with occasional mixed use spaces. But this place type is specifically designed to be more supportive of transit, walking, and biking with a somewhat heavier density of households with 7 households per acre. And the population in 2050, based on this scenario, would be 659, which is close to twice the population of the current 2020. And employment would jump up to 100, which is 5 times the current employment population of 20. And we are specifically interested in seeing how safety performance in this uh, traffic TAZ will perform with this new place type designation. And the particular TAZ we're interested in is 6300, and these inputs provide the mileage of roadways and arterial mileage as well as the number of transit stops within that study area. So we'll move on to the next step. And at this point, we're asked to select what safety performance crash predictions we're interested in. And for this demonstration, I'll look at total fatal and injury crashes and total bike and pedestrian fatal and injury crashes. And then we'll run the model. And as you can see here, the blue column refers to the current conditions or the base year conditions of 2020, where under the neighborhood low place type, this traffic analysis zone experienced 6.28 total fatal and injury crashes per year. And under the more densified neighborhood residential land use category, the the number of crashes would be expected to increase slightly to 6.3. The bars, because they don't start at zero, it makes it look more pronounced, but in reality, it's only a 0.3% increase relative to the base year. And when we look at the bicycle and pedestrian total fatal and injury crashes, we can see also that the annual expected number of incidents in this community would increase from 0.91 or 0.92 less than 1 to a 0.94, which again is still less than 1, and it represents an increase of about 2.2%. So the planner would need to decide whether this uh, uh, modestly increased safety risk performance due to the higher level of density in the neighborhood uh, would be acceptable based on the, the the planning scenario objectives for the community. And I also had uh, completed the baseline assessment for this study if we didn't change the land use from neighborhood low to neighborhood residential. And the number of crashes, which would just be basically projecting into 2050 the existing land use conditions, and including the safety provisions in projects included in Connect SoCal 2024, would result in a modest decrease in total fatal and injury crashes of minus 3.8% and minus 3.3% in the number of bicycle and pedestrian crashes. So again, the planners at this in this community would decide whether that, first of all, whether that trade-off would be acceptable, uh, relevant relative to the increased density of the region surrounding the train station, and also what types of interventions might be able to decrease that safety performance profile, to improve safety performance with that increased density in the community. So this information would provide planners the information needed to uh, focus interventions on improving safety performance with that increased density in the community. And we also have this little slide feature here, which uh, shows before and after based on the scenario inputs of the user. And you also have the opportunity to download your analysis through a GIS shapefile or CSV or other opportunities for saving your work. And I know I'm kind of out of time here, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And certainly, if you are interested in learning more about this model and would like to have access to it, we'd be very happy to provide that for you. Thank you. At this point, would we go to Jeannie?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks so much for your presentation, Mike. That was really great and really appreciate the demonstration. So with that, I'll now hand it over to Jeannie to give us our next presentation. Jeannie, are you ready?
Yes, thanks, Jasper.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me for a moment. And then let me do this real quick. Okay. And can everyone see my slides?
Yeah, we can see them.
Great, thank you. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeannie Ma, and I'm an Assistant Regional Planner under the Performance Assessment and Monitoring Unit here at SCAG. I will be providing an overview of the recently published 2025 Transportation Safety Regional Existing Conditions Report. Before we dive into their presentation, I want to ground us in where we currently stand in the region. The statistics shown here are drawn from the Transportation Safety Regional Existing Conditions Report. Please note that most of the figures uses provisional data from 2023 to 2024. This slide offers a brief preview of the report and what you can expect moving forward. If you look to the middle of the image, you will see infographics on why collisions occur. So about 17% of fatal collisions were caused by unsafe speed, and it was actually named as one of the top primary collision factors within the SCAG region. To the right of the slide, the image shows additional infographics showing the relationship between victim, speed, and collisions. This report compiles both historical and the most up-to-date roadway collision data, patterns, and trends. It serves as a key reference by establishing baseline conditions that inform transportation safety practices and policy actions. The primary goal is to support local agencies and users of the report by providing access to comprehensive regional safety data. This information can help guide progress towards regional safety targets or assist in developing localized safety strategies. The dataset spans from 2014 to 2024 and includes provisional data from TIMS for the years 2023 and 2024. In addition to TIMS data, sources include the American Community Survey, which contributes demographic context. Each chapter focuses on one of the SCAG region's counties: Imperial, Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura, as well as features graphs, images, and maps. These visuals highlight key trends in fatal and serious injury collisions, including incidents involving pedestrians and bicyclists. The report largely follows the structures of past iterations from 2017 and 2021. That also includes a standard executive summary and overview. In addition, it introduces a list of emerging topics such as the 2028 Olympic Games. This section discusses how SCAG and partner agencies are preparing for the event and how it may influence transportation safety across the region. Each county chapter now concludes with a short summary that highlights key takeaways, providing users with a clear and concise overview of the most important findings. The report also includes an overall conclusion that summarizes regional insights and a list of next steps for SCAG and its transportation safety partners. The report is organized into two main parts: an overview of the SCAG region as a whole, followed by detailed chapters for each of the 6 counties. Each county section presents data and analysis related to transportation safety and is structured around 5 main questions. What are the numbers? This section presents data on the county's population and the number of fatal and serious injury collisions. The next one is where and when are the collisions occurring? So this section will have maps of collision hotspots and temporal data that are used to highlight key patterns and trends. After that, it is who are the victims. This section provides information on the mode of travel and sometimes includes demographic characteristics of those involved in collisions. And lastly, why are collisions happening? This portion of the report provides analysis of primary collision factors, and it is included to identify the most common causes of severe incidents. Each chapter contains figures, graphs, and maps to better encapsulate the textual data. We also want to provide an idea of the timeframe it took to develop this report. In this year 2025, we started in early March to the end of July to conduct the drafting phase of the report, where we conducted data retrieval, map and figure creation, and data analysis. In July to September, we started to conduct upper-level review from multiple subject matter experts and our own media and public affairs team who worked on preparing the release of the report. The report officially released on October 8th to align with Walktober, which was a month-long campaign that advocated for walking and biking. The report is accessible through SCAG's Transportation Safety webpage and the Transportation Safety Resource Hub. You can find the hub and report link in the chat. The links will also be available on the final slide of this presentation. So now we're going to provide an overview of some of the key takeaways and findings for the SCAG region as a whole. This slide is a preview to the What section under the SCAG region chapter, which provides data for the fatal and serious injury victims within the region. Between 2014 and 2024, an average of 1,616 people died, 6,500 people were seriously injured, and 118,800 people sustained other injuries. And these are injuries that are essentially were not fatal or considered serious. And these all occurred in traffic collisions each year in the SCAG region. During that period, the number of fatal victims began to rise in 2019 and peaked in 2022 at approximately 1,900 fatalities. After 2022, the number of fatal victims gradually began to decline. Continuing on, we're now moving into the Where section of the SCAG region chapter. While the chapter includes detailed textual data, I like to take a moment to highlight the map featured in this section. It offers a more visual and intuitive illustration of where fatal collisions were reported across the region in 2024. Each county chapter in the report features a similar map, but due to visualization constraints, only 1 year of data is shown, and that applies to all the maps featured within the Transportation Safety Report. The maps reveal that fatal collisions tend to cluster in areas with higher population density and more extensive roadway networks, such as central Los Angeles County. The heat map highlights particularly high concentrations in southeast Los Angeles, as well as notable hotspots in Long Beach, Lancaster, and Ontario. In the one slide, this figure illustrates how total fatal collisions were at their highest at the end of the evening peak travel period. And so that's around 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And collisions that continue to be elevated throughout midnight, which starts around 9 o'clock to midnight as well, which suggests that nighttime driving conditions may be a factor in severity of collisions, such as reduced visibility, fatigue, and impaired driving. Here's an example of one of the figures featured within the SCAG region chapter under the Who Are the Victims section. When victims of fatal collisions are stratified by age group, the largest number of fatal victims were among ages 25 to 34, who accounted for 22% of all fatal victims in the region. Men ages 25 to 34 were overrepresented in the proportion of fatalities, while the proportion of men between the ages of 25 to 34 represented about 14% of the regional population. They constituted about 17% of all fatal victims. Women in this age range constituted approximately 5% of all fatal victims, while they represented 14% of the regional population. Here we are in the final section. Here we are in the final section of the SCAG region chapter, the why. This figure reflects the top primary collision factors, or PCFs, for fatal and serious injury collisions. The PCF is the main cause of the collision as determined by the officer at the collision scene, and there may be other factors which the officer notes as other associated factors on the collision report. As shown in this figure, the top 3 PCFs for fatal collisions in the SCAG region were pedestrian violations at 19%, unsafe speed at 17%, and driving under the influence at 17%. And in terms of the top PCFs for serious injuries, the first one was unsafe speed at 20%, then it's followed by improper turning at 17%, and the last one being driving under influence at 16%. In this slide, we have the SCAG region chapter conclusion. Each county chapter has one in the report. Here's a condensed version of some findings in the overall chapter. We see fluctuations in fatal and serious injury collisions were consistent for the most part, but experienced fluctuations during the COVID-19 pandemic. Pedestrians and bicyclists remain the most vulnerable road users facing high risks on the road. Urbanized areas are consistently where we see the highest number of reported collisions. Local roads, not highways, account for half of all fatal collisions and the majority of pedestrian and bicyclist deaths. Certain times see elevated risks, such as fatal and serious injury collisions, that spike during the evenings, weekends, and in the month of October, and this may possibly be due to daylight savings and to back to school. Young men, those aged between 25 and 34, were overrepresented in fatal and serious injury collisions. We also saw overrepresentation of Black, Hispanic, and Latino, and individuals categorized as other ethnicity in fatal and serious injury victims. So now we're moving on to the county chapter takeaways. In this section, I will highlight key findings from the report for each of the county chapters. I won't be covering every detail on the slides and will focus on specific takeaways, but please note that a recording of the session will be available online. We're also happy to share the slides with anyone who requests them. So starting off with Imperial County, the data shows that there was a general decline in fatalities reaching the lowest point in 2024. There were some fluctuations, which may be attributed to the county's smaller population and possibly due to COVID-related changes in travel behavior. Collision concentrations were primarily seen in urban areas such as El Centro. And if we're continuing on, we see that most severe collisions occur on rural roads and arterial routes. If we review the demographic data, we see that Black and Hispanic and Latino individuals and those who identify as an other ethnicity were also overrepresented in fatal and serious injury victims, where Hispanic and Latino are 86% of the county population and made up about 78% of all victims, 57% of fatalities, and 67% of serious injuries. Black individuals were only 2% of the county population, but accounted for 7% of fatalities, which would be considered disproportionately high for this specific group. Individuals who identify in the other ethnicity category consisted of about 2% of the county population and made up about 29% of fatalities. Non-Hispanic whites made up about 9% of the county population and were approximately 16% of victims, but 31% of serious injuries, while Asian individuals made up about 1% of population and or only 3% of serious injuries, with no fatalities reported for this specific group. In Los Angeles County, fatalities peaked in 2016 and 2022, while 2021 recorded the highest number of serious injuries. The map on the right illustrates the density of fatal collisions with concentrations or collision hotspots in South Los Angeles near Interstates 110 and the 10, downtown Long Beach, the San Fernando Valley, and the city of Lancaster. Compared to the region overall, Los Angeles County reported slightly lower fatality rates with 6 to 8 fatalities per 100,000 people versus the SCAG region as a whole, which was about 8 to 11 fatalities. Fatal and serious injury collisions were common in the evening, and fatalities were highest on Sundays. Young men ages between 25 and 34 were also overrepresented, including Black, Hispanic, and Latino, and other ethnicities were overrepresented in fatal collisions. One key difference we see in Los Angeles County is among women involved in fatal collisions. Here, fatalities among women who were walking are about 1.5 times higher than among those who were driving. And considering within the SCAG region, those numbers are about as equal. Yeah. In Orange County, collisions were concentrated in several neighborhoods around West and Central Orange County, including pockets within the cities of Anaheim, Orange, Stanton, Garden Grove, Santa Ana, Buena Park, La Palma, Tustin, Irvine, Mission Viejo, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, and Huntington Beach. And if we're looking at fatal collisions per 100,000 people, overall, the county's collision rates were consistently lower than the regional rates, with Orange County reporting 3 to 8 fatalities per 100,000 people, compared to the region's 8 to 11 fatalities per 100,000 people. If we're looking at temporal patterns for Orange County, we see that fatal and serious injury collisions most often occurred in late afternoon and evening hours, with a clear peak on Saturdays. Fatal collisions tend to increase from spring through winter, reaching their highest frequency in November. Serious injury collisions peaked in August, suggesting seasonal differences in collision severity. And looking at the demographics for Orange County, young adults men aged particularly 25 and 34 were overrepresented, and Black individuals and those in the other ethnicity category also experienced a disproportionate share of collisions compared to their population size. And then providing a brief overview of primary collision factors, the most contributing factors were driving under the influence, pedestrian violations, and unsafe speed. So here we have Riverside County, and to your right, the map illustrates fatalities in urban areas in western Riverside County, including along and adjacent to State Route 91, Interstate 15, and Interstate 10, along neighborhoods in the cities of Jurupa Valley, Moreno Valley, Hemet, San Jacinto, Lake Elsinore, Wildomar, Temecula, and several cities in the Coachella Valley. There are also hotspots in eastern Riverside County along Interstate 10 and in the city of Blythe. The county's collision rates were higher than the regional rates, with Riverside County reporting 9 to 14 fatalities per 100,000 people, compared to the region's 8 to 11 fatalities per 100,000 people. Similarly, Riverside County had a higher serious injury rate per 100,000 people, which was consistently higher than the regional serious injury rate until 2024. Continue on, we're going to now focus on the demographics of Riverside County. Black individuals made up of 6% of the county population, but accounted for 9% of fatalities, 8% of serious injuries, and 10% of all victims. So we see that there's a overrepresentation for this particular group. Continuing on, while Hispanic and Latino consist of 50% of the population and account for 59% of fatalities and 52% of serious injuries. Finally, those who identify in the other ethnicity category were 4% of the county population and made up about 5% of serious injuries, 7% of all victims. If we're continuing on, we see that the top 3 primary collision factors for fatal collisions were driving under the influence at 25%, improper turning at 19%, and pedestrian violation at 17%. And now we are moving on to San Bernardino County. Fatal collision hotspots were shown in the cities of Upland, Rancho Cucamonga, Ontario, Chino, Fontana, San Bernardino, Colton, Loma Linda, Yucaipa, Hesperia, Victorville, and Apple Valley, and in unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County. So compared to the SCAG region, San Bernardino County generally had a higher fatality rate per 100,000 people, which was nearly 2 times the regional fatality rate in more recent years. Similarly, San Bernardino consistently had a higher serious injury rate per 100,000 people until it declined more towards the regional serious injury rate in 2024. Another thing that we also noticed that was a notable difference was that San Bernardino generally had a higher fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, but a similar or lower serious injury rate per 100 million VMT, which indicated that collisions in San Bernardino County tend to be more dangerous and result in more fatalities per miles traveled. Now, focusing on temporal patterns, most collisions resulting in fatal or serious injury occurred in the evening, which is with the largest number of fatal collisions at 699 collisions, and serious injury collisions at about 1,729 collisions occurring in the evening between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. By day of week, fatal and serious injury collisions were all modes generally decreased from Mondays to Tuesdays, then increased over the course of the week before it reached a peak on Sundays, and then another increase in fatal and serious injury collisions. By month of the year, fatal and serious injury collisions occurred in the spring, summer, and fall months, with the peak of fatal collisions happening in July and serious injury collisions peaking in October. And finally, we are at Ventura County. Compared to the SCAG region, Ventura County consistently experienced lower fatality and serious injury rates per 100,000 people. Overall, Ventura County had more fluctuations in the rate of serious injuries compared to regions, possibly due to the county's relatively small population. When normalizing for vehicle miles traveled, VMT, Ventura County's fatality and serious injury trends stayed similar to the overall non-normalized trends. This suggests that factors other than population or travel distance likely influence observed collision patterns. And compared to the SCAG region, Ventura County has fewer fatalities per 100 million VMT driven, but more serious injuries, meaning crashes here tend to cause more severe injuries than deaths. If we look at the demographic data, men experience significantly more fatalities and serious injuries than women across all modes. Looking specifically at fatalities, there were 84 victims who identified as men versus 29 victims who identified as women. And if we focus on biking fatal victims, it shows that there were more men at 20 victims than 4 victims who were women. Ventura County was the only county where more men were seriously injured biking at 337 reported injuries than those walking at 248 reported injuries. However, men who were driving still experienced the greatest number of serious injuries at 2,520 victims compared to women at 1,557 victims, and more men suffered serious injury compared to women who were walking, from the difference between 165 victims and biking at 94 victims. So I know that was pretty quick, but thank you for attending my presentation on the Transportation Safety Regional Existing Conditions Report. All materials and additional resources from today's session will be available on the Transportation Safety Resources Hub. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. That was such a great presentation and really detailed and really great information. I'm really happy that we have this information. Okay, so I think now would be a good time to put the survey slide on the screen, but we do have a Q&A question in our Q&A feature. And so while we answer this Q&A question, it would be a great time to just answer this quick 2-minute survey on the screen there, but also if you have any questions, now would be a great time to paste them in the chat, or you can also paste them in this Q&A feature. So the first question we have is for Mike on the Community Safety Modeling tool. What are the variables used in the crash model? Are you ready to answer that, Mike?
Should I answer it in the chat feature or?
Either one you prefer.
Okay. Well, the model includes historical crash data from SWITRs as well as from the fatality analysis research system, FARS, and it's supplemented by demographic and land use data, including population, employment, transit, and transportation system infrastructure. It includes the wide range of place types that are featured in Connect SoCal 2024, as well as all of the modeling input used to develop the projections for Connect SoCal 2024. The primary focus of the model is to allow the users to intuitively consider the potential safety impacts of any land use changes rather than trying to estimate population and employment numbers directly. The place type typologies can be used to generate the number of residents and employees associated with land use decisions. So to interpret the results, you're looking at the relative change between one scenario and the other. And that is for different scenarios. How do crashes increase or decrease, and by how much? And we're specifically looking at relative differences in order to target investments to reduce the number of crashes within a community based on having the information related to how safety performance would be impacted by changes in land use, demographics, or economic activity. And are there any other questions related to the SoCal community safety model?
Let's see. We have another question in the chat. Let's figure out if this is for Jeannie or for you. So this participant says, I may have missed this, but is there data on fatalities from people using scooters, or was that included in one of the other categories? Jeannie, I believe that question is for you, if you'd like to answer that.
No, most of the modes that we use, that we feature data on is just mainly driving, pedestrian, bicyclists, and those essentially walking. And so we don't really have anything on scooters, especially considering fatalities. Yeah.
Hi, this
Oh.
is Anita Au, planning supervisor at SCAG. Um, for the person who asked that question, if you have a source that we could use for the region, we would love to look into that as well, because when we do these existing conditions reports, we also have to consider that we need reliable data for all 6 counties, and that's why sometimes it is a little difficult to broaden our types of analyses on newer modes like rideshare, like scooters. So if you have any kind of resources that you can share with us, we would love to look into that.
Yeah, well, thank you both for answering that question. I don't see any more questions in the chat or the Q&A feature. But now, if you would like to unmute, that would be great. Otherwise, we can wrap up this session. So thank you to all of our participants. I hope you found this session useful. We'd like to invite you to take a brief 2-minute survey to help us support future Toolbox Tuesdays. A link is also in the chat, and then a link will also pop up when the meeting ends. So if you don't have your phone ready, it will still be available to you. So a special thanks to Jennifer Martinez with AV, Amanda McDaniel, Mike Gaynor, Jeannie Ma, and Anita Au, and all of the SCAG staff who helped put this together today. So thank you again, and we hope that you stay safe and healthy and have a great day. And of course, if you would like to unmute to answer any questions, we can stay on for a few minutes. But thank you for listening into this session.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to voice something in the chat. If you want more information about the modeling tool, please reach out to gaynor@scag.ca.gov. That email is in the chat if you missed it. Okay, I think we're good to end this session now. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.